It's recording.
Okay. Ready. The Real Impact Show.
The Real Impact Show.
The Real Impact Show. Hey, welcome back to the Real Impact Show.
Welcome back. Good to see you, my man.
Welcome back. I'm Aaron Zapata.
And I am Don Jax.
That's right. Thank you so much for giving us your ear for a moment here today as we record this wonderful episode about what's going on in 2024 with buyers.
Buyers and real estate. Yeah, it's nice to just talk real estate for a little bit.
Yeah.
A lot
let's just
going
talk
on
real
with
estate.
buyers.
Yeah, you know what? I just came back from Nashville,
Yes, you did.
and it was a fantastic trip. As you know, we have transitioned to the Real Broker.
Yes.
As a group, we took Impact Properties, and we've made the move, and some people, this is news to them.
Yes.
Not news to us, but news to them.
Breaking news.
Breaking news. And so I got to spend about 24 hours at 3 different events with real brokers from all over the country who have flown to Nashville for this buyer mastery course put on by none other than Sharon Zapata,
Yes.
the president and whatever his title is of Real.
President of Real?
Something like that.
CEO?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know if he's CEO.
President.
Is he president?
Definitely.
Something like that.
We should know that.
We should.
Yeah.
We should. Although he would tell you, be the first to tell you, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. He's just there to lead and to inspire and to encourage all of us to do the best that we can.
That's right. That's right. He does that well.
He does. He does
Yeah.
do that well. So anyways, I got to spend a couple of days there. One day for this buyer mastery seminar, and we had 2 other networking events the night before.
Awesome.
I don't think I told you that.
You didn't?
No.
Okay.
So we're all on Workplace, which is a Facebook product for businesses, and people said, hey, if you're going to be in Nashville, why don't we get together? We'll do a social group or the network group where we can get together. And so I'm like, yes, count me in. So I said yes. I got the invite. I said yes. I show up at 4:00, and I can't really see anybody. And even the person at the front of the restaurant.
Were they hiding?
Yeah, apparently they were hiding on the 10th floor on the rooftop networking lounge.
Nice.
Okay, but even the guy at the front desk of the restaurant didn't know. I mean, 12 people walked by him and went up the elevator. But anyways, we found out where we're supposed to go, and the lady who invited me and sent me the RSVP, she's not there. So I texted her. I'm like, hey, where are you at? And this was before we found out the 10th floor is where I was going to be. And so she's like, my event starts at 6. And I'm like, okay, but this other lady walked in also at 4:00. And she's like, I'm here with Real. Me too. Where's everybody? I don't know. So I'm like, okay, I'm not crazy. So we went up to the 10th floor, and sure enough, there's 8 people there. By 6 o'clock, there were about 35 people there. And we got to meet everybody and hang out and just talk about, how long we've been with the company, where we're from, what we do. And it was a great event.
That's awesome.
But at 5:50, I realized I needed to go to the other event that I thought I was RSVPing for. I didn't know there were 2 events.
That's hilarious.
Just showed
That's
up
great.
to what I thought was the one I was scheduled for. And so 3 of us left and then went over to the other one. And then by the time that one was 8 o'clock-ish, there were another 30 people there. So
Right
just
on.
2 different events, lots of fun things going on. But long story short, came away with a lot of great new relationships, as well as some amazing buyer strategies.
And that's what we want to talk about today.
Yeah,
I mean,
let's do it.
you're coming in here talking about Sharon and the way he taught the buyer strategy, the outlook for 2024, what's going on in the mind of the buyer right now, and quite frankly, working with buyers has been not an afterthought, but not the main focus for business for so long. And you coming away after so long in the business with more strategies and ideas around the buyer conversation really excited me, and I can't wait to unpack this with you.
Well, Don, you and I have gone way back, and I had a dream board, remember? Way back from 1990s,
Okay.
and I put a business reply mail.
I do
Remember
remember
our
that.
postcard
Yes.
on there?
Yes.
And my business by design for the last 2 decades has been outbound marketing and materials like that with the intent of working with sellers.
Yes.
And I love sellers. In fact, I updated my seller track record today for the last 101 sales
Okay.
that we've closed, and on average 10 offers per deal, selling at an average of 105% of the listing price. And so some of those amazing transactions were because they were probates and we had really low prices.
Sure.
Just because they want to get rid. Anyways, that's what generated the 105. It jumped up from 103 to 105. Anyways, I love sellers. And then I was telling Don, if you're watching this on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, I was telling Don that I got really excited about buyers. Don's like,
He doesn't get excited about buyers. I mean, we're talking about buyers. Now, there is one required in every transaction.
That's
and,
true.
And
That's
they're
true.
wonderful to represent. It's just not where we spend a lot of our time.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, before I get into it, let's just remind people
Yes.
that this is the Real Impact Show.
The Real Impact Show.
And they can find us on YouTube if they're listening to us on the podcast. And if you're listening to us or watching us on YouTube, you can find us on the podcast.
Wherever you get your podcast.
That's right. So, and I'm done. No. I'm Aaron Zapata.
You're still Aaron Zapata. I'm still Don Jacks.
Thank you.
And every time Aaron gets back from a week of travel, we go through getting him acclimated back to speaking English. It's weird.
Thank you. You have the hair. I am bald. So
There we go.
That should be easy to remember. But let me just get right into it.
So yeah, let's jump into it. What
Yeah.
did you learn, and what's got you all excited about working with buyers again?
Yeah, so agents, if you're listening to this, and again, if this is really a podcast meant for agents, buyers are a fabulous way to accelerate your business.
Absolutely.
If you're new in the business, buyers are typically what you're most comfortable with because the process is actually, from a transactional standpoint, easier.
Absolutely.
Right? You don't have to do any of the marketing, you don't have to price a home, you don't have to go through any of that side of the deal in preparation of listing a home. If you have a buyer that's active and qualified and ready to go, you show them a house and you write the offer and you get it accepted. That's
right.
in the most simplest of terms, and then you walk them through the inspection and
Right.
the appraisal. But what got me excited at this time is just not only looking at that simplicity, but also in working with buyers in such a way that really creates them lifelong fans. Because when you put a buyer into a home, they eventually become a seller. So if that's your end result goal of becoming a listing agent, go represent 50 buyers this year, and in 3 years you might have 12 listings from
There we
those
go.
buyers,
Yeah.
which is great. Like, of course, that's me thinking like a listing agent, but how would I impact this as a buyer's agent? He gave me a couple of things that I hadn't thought about before. We've all seen the I Have Buyers letter.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
if you've been in this business any length of time, you know that there's a popular idea that if you are looking for listings, put a I Have Buyers letter together and send it out to your client, send it out to a neighborhood, and people are going to call you. The problem with that, and which he points out, is that I Have Buyers makes total sense to realtors, but a homeowner who gets a letter that says I have a buyer doesn't necessarily mean anything.
Understand what that means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a buyer what? For my car, for my appliances, for what? What are they buying,
Right.
And so they talked about being very specific. We learned this week that to be very specific about our buyer needs. In fact, he gave us a video that we watched from an agent that basically said, look, I have a buyer, and I'll give you a different example. Her name is Lisa, and she's looking, if you're watching this video, you're watching it on purpose, because we have already seen everything that's currently on the market. And we are looking for property specifically in the city of Orange under the price of $1.1 million, and a total fixtures, okay. That's exactly what she's looking for. She must be near Chapman College. And that's actually a real buyer for me. So that's what I'm thinking. That's like a rehearsal for me
Yes.
of a video I'm thinking about putting together. I have a client named Lisa, and she's looking in Orange, and she would like to be under 1.1 million. And if you know anything about Orange, it's kind of a hard find.
It is.
So it's going to have to be a fixer. But I'm like, why would, he's like, you guys are all thinking that this is for sellers. And he says, it's not. I am doing work for my buyer that no other realtor is willing to do. I am putting a video out there, identifying my client, identifying the market, and then boosting that to the marketplace where she wants to buy.
That's great.
That's great service.
Yes.
And I hadn't thought about it that way. I'd always thought about that letter as the I want to take a listing.
Let's get listings, whether it
Yeah.
fits their needs or
Yeah.
not, we'll have a listing.
And
Which
so-
I guess happens anyways.
Well, it does,
But it's a
because
byproduct.
if you buy off market, of
Right.
course it helps with that. But the reality of this whole situation is that it took I thought of these products and these tools that I have typically been using in my mind for sellers, and really applied them legitimately to the buyer process. So that's one.
Interesting.
Yeah. The other, another one is the deal of the week email,
Yes.
right?
Love this.
And he got this from somewhere else. I forget where he said he got it from, but basically the deal of the week email is very simple. Deal of the week - city name. Here's some information about the property.
in bullet point form.
In bullet point form, no photos, no additional information, no clicks. If this looks like something that's interest to you, reply and I'll send you all the details.
Yes.
The whole point of that is to get a hand raise. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. And so by raising the hand, saying, hey, that sounds something very interesting to me, that's a good conversation starter.
And validation for a true lead,
That's
right?
right.
Or someone to take the conversation with further, for sure.
That's right.
Yeah, that's great.
And so that was another idea. And then also, talking about buyers being vulnerable. There's a lot of buyers that are struggling with bad credit scores, and they don't know why. And they're ashamed, they're nervous. And so one of the things that he talked about was disarming and being very grateful when a buyer brings you into this specific conversation. Don, imagine you come to me and you say, I don't even have any credit cards anymore. I pay cash for everything because my credit score is really bad and I can't even get one. And I say, wow, thank you for sharing that with me. That's a real intimate detail.
Sure.
It's not the thing you're going to post on a bumper sticker. Hey, I got bad credit. Look at the car I'm driving. Or
Right.
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 And so when people become vulnerable about bringing their personal finances to you,
Yeah.
he said, be very open, be very gracious, thank them for being vulnerable. And he said, now you don't have to be the guy that goes into all the details. You have to be the girl that goes into all the details. Well, tell me everything. Why are you doing it? He said, but put them in contact with somebody that can help.
That's right.
And so it's like, so this Don, like, this role play, you came to me and you told me those things. I said, Don, thank you for bringing that, bringing that to us. I mean, this is a very safe place, and I'm glad you felt comfortable sharing it with me. I want you to know that stays with me.
That's great. I appreciate that.
My job is to help you achieve home ownership. And so I've got somebody that I want to put you in contact with. And is it okay if we do a group text just to get things started, or a group phone call to get things started, so I can do a good handoff, so that you know that this person's going to take good care of you? Would you be open to that?
I think so, as long as they're going to help. Sure.
Absolutely, right?
Yeah.
And so there's that. And he did point out, says, you notice how I slowed down?
Mm.
I changed my tonality.
Yeah.
Because it's no longer about selling anything. It's not like getting excited about a house. It's wow, we've just reached a new level of intimacy.
Connection.
A connection
Yes.
in our relationship. And you don't want to go into that relationship and I'll be like, oh, that's amazing. We could totally get that fixed for you. Yeah, we got a guy. Oh, in fact, I saw this guy on this radio show. You should give him a call, right? Yeah. Like,
It's not that conversation.
it's not the conversation.
No.
And so he's like, slow it down. In fact, I can say from history, working with a buyer that had a credit issue, it took them a year to get their credit fixed.
Sure.
And the lender called me back, who was working on it with them, and said, hey, guess what? They're ready to buy.
Yeah.
And since that day, which was years and years ago, we put them in a house. I have sold a house for his parents. And he calls me all the time.
That's
Hey,
great.
I've got something else going on. What do you think? And so he's become a great referral source for me because we handled the situation and we didn't put the pressure on to well, let's
Completely.
figure it out right now.
Completely.
Yeah.
We're in conversation with a client right now. Is going through some challenges with credit and making huge strides to get back to
Yeah.
be able to buy sooner rather than later. Huge
Yeah.
strides. And the conversation, you use the right word, vulnerability, being let in there. It's such a delicate process. I know his dad and have done deals with him over the years, and we have to be there for the best of our client, right? We need to help them whatever it takes, and the close and the deals and referrals and dollars always follow when you do the right thing for your client. So that's always good to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Okay. What else?
Oh man, good stuff. Discovery language patterns. Woo. NLP.
Yes.
I mean, he
right
didn't
up
even
my
say,
alley.
he
I
didn't
love
say
this.
NLP.
Yes.
But he alluded to it in so many ways, right?
Of course.
Neuro-linguistic programming, if you guys don't know what NLP stands for, but it's basically understanding language pattern, stop, start phrases, using embedded commands, but he didn't even go into that detail. What he did was, he said, look, you're a listener. When you're talking with a buyer, stop the talking, ask more questions.
Yes.
And he gave us a great example. He said, if you have a buyer that says, hey, I'm looking for a house with a downstairs master bedroom, ask a question. He said, you don't just stop there. Oh, great, I'll put that on my list of what you're looking for. Hey, help me understand, what's going on with the downstairs master bedroom? Is it for you guys? Just tell me more about that. Just open-ended question. Tell me more about it.
Yes.
And he says, well, my aunt's going to move in with us, and she's got a wheelchair, and so we got to make sure that that she can have access to it. He says, okay, so let me understand. You have an aunt that's going to move in with you, and she needs wheelchair access. So downstairs master bedroom is absolutely key. What about stairs to the house and that kind of stuff? Oh, that's important too? Oh yeah, it's important too. Great. Okay, so if I find a house that has a downstairs bedroom with an attached bath, but it's not the master, is that okay? Like, would that be okay?
Sure.
Oh yeah, that'd be okay. Sure. Because see, buyers are thinking different things when they say what they say is not necessarily what they mean, but it's not in a we're trying to lie to you. It's in a help us discover really what we're trying to discover.
That's right.
Say, right.
That's right.
And so by asking these kind of questions, you take the noun, which is the downstairs master bedroom, and you say, ask more questions, unpack it.
Yeah.
And so
Be curious enough to ask. Yeah.
right. And you mentioned downstairs. Are you specifically looking for a two-story home, or what if we found a one-story home and all the bedrooms are on the downstairs?
That would even be better. That would be great.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, just by unpacking, and at the end of the day, what you've done is you've asked the questions to elicit the response that they maybe didn't even know they had.
To get more clarity on what they're looking
Exactly.
for. Yeah.
And in dating relationships, I've got two boys.
Yes.
We have told our boys, if you don't like a girl and she likes you, the kind thing to do is to clarify.
Clarify.
Clarity is kindness, is what we tell them. Clarity is kindness. You don't want to lead anybody on. You don't want to, go out on dates and then, make them think that you like them. Like, clarity is kindness. If they're not your type, if you're not going to be going about them, just be clear.
That's right.
And so same thing goes with this kind of relationship with buyers. Clarity is kindness.
And helping them get to that clarity is our job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
that's great.
I kept thinking about my example of the eye doctor, AB.
Right,
Where does this fit in? Where does this fit in? It's a whole different story. But this is a method to get to what really matters in a home.
Right.
In a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And going through that up front,
Yeah.
right? Spending 10 extra minutes in
Yeah.
that conversation, 5 extra minutes up
Right.
front that conversation,
Yeah.
saves so many hours of
Yeah.
painful,
Yeah.
bad decisions along the way.
Right.
Yeah, it's great.
And these clarifying questions, these discovery questions, allow the buyer to really bring up to the table what's important.
Yeah.
What's important. And it's up to our job as agents to really learn that.
That's right.
One of our old managers taught us that all buyers are liars.
Not the case.
And it's not the case. They just don't necessarily know what they're looking for.
It's our job to help them discover that, or
Yep.
help them share what's inside their mind with us,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And at the end result of these conversations that you're having with these buyers, you don't want to just discover this information without having the intention of then helping them find out.
Right.
Find out.
Right.
I can learn all about you. Oh, that's great. I love so much. Well, that's amazing. Well, good luck with that. That's not the right conclusion to these conversations.
Not at all.
It's
not at all.
I'm talking to you. I want to learn more about you. I want to know about what you're doing and what's most important. so that I can help you. And that is the last part of these conversations, as he was walking us through this kind of a circle of things. After you have these discover questions and you get to know them more, the last part of that is, you know what, is it okay for me and to do this so that you can do this?
Yeah.
You know, is it okay for me to set up a home search for you guys using some of this criteria so that you can find that home for your family?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's that permission based, but it's also what he called a moral contract.
I love that term.
Yeah. Is it okay for me to start work so that you can then buy the home?
Right.
Now we're working together.
Right. We used to call that qualify for motivation,
Sure,
timeline.
sure. Yeah.
But what you can do when you unpack it like this, that ask is for their reasons, not ours, not the agents, but because you want to be in Florida by spring break.
Right.
Can I go ahead and set you up on this search so
Yeah.
we can
Yeah.
make that happen faster?
Yeah. And getting that buy-in
Yeah.
with a verbal commitment
Yes.
is so crucial,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
You can go through the whole conversation and have, you know, you think you're in rapport, and then you could say, okay, here's where we go from here. I'm going to set up a search and I'm going to send it to you, and then we're going to go out and look at properties, right? That's just very, like, all of a sudden, like, we gone from this, I'm extracting information, we're building rapport, to I've got all I want.
Yes.
Now I'm going to make that up, that left hook, right?
The hard cross.
The hard cross. And he's like, don't do that. Be in rapport and then get their permission. Hey, I've got all this information. Is it okay for me to put together a search?
Yes.
And think about that video that we talked about at the beginning of our talk today. Hey, Don, now that I've learned all this about you, would it be okay if I use your name and go out to the public in a search for your home with the specifics that I've just learned? Would you allow me to do that?
You do that for me?
Absolutely.
That would be great.
I would love to do that. And so that's where this conversation goes. And I got excited about that
That's awesome.
because I also realized, like, I'm doing a lot of stuff with sellers wrong in this whole process. Because my filter is so ingrained towards working with sellers.
Yes.
You know, the filter's like overtime. Like,
This is exactly what we need to do to get you to your goal. Follow this plan.
Yeah. I even called one of my sellers from the airport. And I'm like, hey, I only gave you one option. There's really two other options. I'd really like to see what you're most comfortable with. Right?
Beautiful.
Because we have to apply this in all areas.
Yes.
So I love that. And if you're hanging out here and you're still listening, thanks for being here. We want to give you a couple more things here before we end today's podcast. But we want you to be able to grow with buyers this year. And Don has been coaching agents for how long? 20 years.
Yeah, 20 plus years.
20 plus years, right? Him and I have been teaching and coaching agents together. Here's a big takeaway for me, and hopefully for you. If you're brand new in the business, awesome. You're like drinking water from a fire hose.
Yes.
If you're like me, you've been in the business for 20 years, and you think you have it mastered, you haven't.
Think again.
Yeah. Think again. I haven't. Like, this was just like, there's so much more. I mean, he did like an 8-hour seminar on buyers.
That's awesome.
We're doing it like a
22 minutes?
28-minute
Yes.
podcast, right? on working buyers. So, go ahead.
I think your excitement says it all. There's so much more to working with buyers than showing property, opening the door, and writing a contract.
Yeah.
We're really getting into their world. Another thank you for letting me in. I appreciate it. I feel honored to be on this journey with you, right?
Yeah.
We're making a massive impact in the lives of our clients when we do this, helping a buyer find a house thing. It's way bigger than that. And I think you've realized that through the language that you were given this week.
Yeah.
Which is great.
It just was a very, very opening. So here's a couple things not to do.
Not to do.
Right. Just eliminate some of these. If you're working through, and there's a whole podcast that Sharon did on this one, he said, 4 words that do not sell. And so never say these things. The first 2 words is a phrase. After you've done all your explainings, always say, make sense? Don't say that. Don't say make sense. He said, when you say, does it make sense? You're either insulting yourself or insulting them. Because you're assuming that they're dummies and that they don't know what you just said. Or you're making the assumption that you're a dummy and you don't know how to explain it. And he said, so when you end a phrase or end a conversation, well, does it make sense? If they honestly have a question, they're probably not going to ask you anymore. Because the only right answer to make sense is yes. Everything else is an admission of ignorance, of
Stupidity.
disagreement.
Yes.
Right. And so he's like, never say, makes sense. And then also when working through negotiations, and especially with your buyers on what you're trying to get them to do and what you're committing to do, never say, fair enough. Those are the other two words in combination. Fair enough. He says the only person that says fair enough is the person that is on the better side of the deal. So we're going to make an offer on this house. I know it's about $50,000 over your budget, but we're going to ask for $20,000 back. Fair enough? The buyer's going to be like,
Close?
and you've moved them in a way to an uncomfortable position.
Yeah.
And so it's like, just eliminate that. So as we're working with buyers, don't ever say, make sense? And don't say, fair enough? Because it puts them at a disadvantage and it breaks the rapport. And it tears it.
Interesting.
Yeah, I
Interesting.
never thought about that.
Okay.
And then the last thing he said never to do is don't ask them why.
Mm-hmm.
Why? And he gave an example. We had an agent from Scottsdale there, and he said, we all love Scottsdale, right? But if somebody is moving to Scottsdale and you're the realtor in Scottsdale and you say, oh, why are you picking Scottsdale? He says the moment you ask the why, you actually put the person who's answering that question in a position where they need to justify their why.
So true.
Right?
Yes.
So why are you looking at Scottsdale?
Should I not be?
Exactly.
It's the first thing that comes to
Right?
my mind, yes.
Because it's kind of expensive, right? Maybe. Oh, do you not think I have the budget for it?
Right.
Is it the wrong city? What don't I know?
Too expensive?
What are you What are you
Yes.
not telling me?
Yes.
Right. It creates this ambiguity,
Yes.
and it requires a buyer to justify their desire and their plan. So when you say, "Hey, because I live in Yorba Linda, why do you want to buy in Yorba Linda?" Like, this is the wrong question.
Right.
So replace the why question with what. What? What do you
What do you
love
love?
about Scottsdale?
Yeah.
What do you love about Yorba Linda?
What's bringing you?
What's bringing you?
Yes.
Right? Because if you ask the what, and
There's always a what. That's the why, right?
It is.
In disguise.
Yeah, and if you ask the when, so when do you want to be in Scottsdale? That's exciting.
Yeah.
Oh well, we've got a graduation coming up, or we've got retirement. I'm retiring in a year, right? If you ask the what and the when, the why will always come there.
Beautiful.
Because people feel obligated to tell you their why, even if you don't ask them.
That's right.
And so you get the same answer without pushing them off.
That's right.
And I thought that was cool.
That's cool. That's a very cool distinction
Yeah.
to the why is off-putting, but
Yeah.
they'll tell you everything you want to know if you ask the right way.
That's right.
Yeah. It's great.
I wrote this quote down. No one can hide the why when they tell you what and when. They'll tell you why. So just don't ask them.
Yeah.
So
It's
those
too
are some-
personal that way.
Well, yeah, and you never know what they have associated with it,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, that's
Um,
interesting.
I'll do one more never do. Don't ask them about their budget. Don't just say, don't use that word budget. What's
all.
your budget?
Right.
Because again, depending on the upbringing of the household or where they lived, if they say, well, it's not in the budget, that budget is a bad word.
Yes.
It's just not a great word in our economy.
It's a turnoff. You're right.
It is. I mean,
You have to follow a budget now.
budget, I remember going through money financial classes with my wife
Yeah.
when we were newly married. And they said, a budget is just a plan for your money in advance. Because everybody has this terrible mindset associated with budget.
Right.
It's not your budget.
Right.
And so don't ask what their budget. Just to give me your price range.
Beautiful alternative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's the price range you're looking at? Oh, fantastic. you know.